Okay. Good morning, my dear students. This is Professor Ramesh Kumar Mehta from JSPM's Rajeshri Sahu College of Engineering MBA department. And today I am going to cover income under the head salary part 2. This is part 2. Now, yesterday we were discussing about this particular slide and we were discussing about salary, what are the different components of salary. And in salary, we touched upon the point allowances. Okay, so allowances, there are so many allowances depending upon the nature of the job the employee is carrying out, and these allowances are divided into three parts: fully taxable, partly taxable, and fully exempted. So again, I am repeating, there are allowances which are forming a part of salary, and these allowances are fully taxable, partly taxable, and fully exempted. Okay, so we have completed this slide. Now next one. So let's talk about some more allowances for our understanding purpose. And in the last class we were looking at uh, allowances like children's educational allowance, children's hostel allowance, tribal this one transport allowance, underground allowance, so on and so forth. So for example, somebody, look at this one. Somebody is working in a mining company. Somebody is working in a mining company, mining, for example, coal mining. He is working in a mining company. So the nature of the work is such that he has to be given some allowances, which is called as underground. He's working in beneath the earth, inside the earth crust. So he should be given some allowances. So this allowance is not for everybody. This allowance is only meant for people who are working in mining industry, like iron ore mining, or coal mining, or manganese mining, or aluminum mining, so on and so forth. So you have to remember that if you are filing the returns of that person, then you have to remember this rule. Otherwise, you need not need not remember the rule. Just you can open the textbook or the Income Tax Act of that particular year, financial year, and then note down what is the amount of allowance which is exempted from the tax. This is, see, look at this. This is the amount of this particular column speaks about to what extent it is exempted. Okay. In the same way, look at this. We will see about this one in the next in the forthcoming sessions. Transport allowance. Yesterday I was talking about this allowance, transport allowance. For example, from moving from office to home and home to office, you are incurring some expenditure, and this expenditure is incurred because of the nature of the work. So for to compensate this, the employer in the salary component will give you some allowance with the name transportation allowance. So this particular allowance is for the purpose of moving from office to home and home to office. So every expenditure has got a nature. For example, medical expenditure. So medical allowance is for allowance towards medical or hospital, so on and so forth. When I'm talking about children's educational allowance, this allowance is meant for children's education. When I'm talking about children's hostel allowance, this allowance is for compensating the hostel expenditure of the child, of the employee. Tribal area allowance, if an employee is working in a tribal area or remote area or a forest area, then he should be given some compensation, and that compensation is in the form of tribal area allowance, and this is the exemption limit. Next one is compensatory, this one, compensatory field area allowance. So something of this kind, if he's working in this kind of, if the nature of the work is of this kind, then up to 2600 per month is exempted from taxation. Compensatory modified hill area, some people are working, for example, military or army is working in some areas like hilly area, or police is working in a hilly area, or some people are working in a hilly area. So they should be given some extra compensation in the form of allowance, which is called as compensatory modified hill area allowance. So you have to remember this rule, that the maximum of 1000 rupees per month can be extended or given, which is exempted from tax. If it is given more than whatever it is given, that will be taxable. For example, in this case, if the employer is giving 200 per month, So government rule says that up to, that is indirect tax, Direct Tax Act 1961 says that, or Finance Act says that up to 1,000 rupees it is exempted. So 1,000 rupees is exempted. So 1,000 rupees can be exempted, and 1,200 the employer is paying. So out of 1,200, 1,000 is exempted per month. 200 is taxable. 200 is taxable per month. Taxable per month. 200 into 12, 2,400. So this is allowances which are having some limits. Over and above, they will be taxable. That is the meaning of this particular slide. I will clear this. Next one. Now we are going to talk about the understanding about perquisites. Now what do you mean by perquisites? Perquisites, see, allowances, I told you, are paid in the form of cash. They are not paid in the form of kind or facility. They are paid in the form of cash, and the salary will be, it is a part of allowances, are a part of the salary which will be credited to your bank account, or it can be paid in whatever form. Whereas perquisites are not paid in the form of cash. Please remember, perquisites are not paid in the form of cash. They are in the kind of facility. They are in the form of facility. We call it as facility provided by the employer to the employee because of employer-employee relationship. Okay, so it is a facility. Okay, next one. Perquisites may be defined as benefits attached to an office or position in addition to salaries or wages. Perquisites may be provided in the form of this. This is a facility. Please remember this. Rarely it is paid in the form of cash. Perquisites are included in salary only if they are received by the employer, by the employee from the employer. It is included in the salary if they are received by the employee during the financial year. Else they will not be included. Next one. So this is about perquisites, and I gave you yesterday an example of medical allowance difference with medical facility. In the same way, I will give you an example of another perquisite. I will give you another example of a perquisite. Another example of a perquisite is educational allowance is a allowance, whereas perquisite is educational facility. I will give you a small example. With this you will understand. Now I am given 500 rupees per month per child to my child. The company is giving 500 rupees per month as a children's educational allowance. So this is a part of my salary and it is paid in the form of cash. Now alternate to this is educational facility provided by the employer to the employee. What does it mean? For example, in our campus we got Blossom School is there. Now my owner says that JSPM is my owner. The owner says that I will not give this one. Ask your daughter to take admission here and I will charge nominal or concessional or zero. Again I am repeating, this is allowance. Children's educational allowance is a part of salary paid in the form of cash, whereas the alternate or opposite of allowance is a perquisite, and perquisite in case of education is, if in my case there is I am working in a college and that college has got a school and my daughter is given free facility of education in that school, that is called as a facility provided by the employer to the employee because there is a employer-employee relationship, and this is a perquisite and I am availing a benefit out of this perquisite. This is called as perquisite. So this is another an example, and there are so many perquisites which I will be dealing in the forthcoming classes. It's a very big chapter, please remember. Next one. So we are going to talk about, already I have covered this, allowances, fully exempted allowances, exempted up to some limit, and taxable allowances. We have seen traveling allowance. We'll speak all this in the forthcoming classes. Very, very important, all these things. We will be seeing in detail all these just I wanted to give an introductory understanding about income from salary. What do you mean by salary? What do you mean by allowance? What do you mean by perquisite? What do you mean by fully taxable allowances? What do you mean by exempted allowances? What do you mean by partly taxable allowances? So on and so forth. Okay. Next one. Now let's go to the starting point of our discussion about income from salary. So the starting point is basic salary. The starting point is basic salary. Basic salary is, look at this particular slide, you will understand what you mean by basic salary. For example, I will tell you from here, you can read. For example, if a person is employed, now basic salary, first remember, it is fully taxable. The rule is fully taxable. Basic salary, which is the first component of salary. The first component of salary is fully taxable. An employee are entitled to a basic salary, which is fixed as per their respective terms of employment, either as a fixed amount or otherwise. Now I will give a small example, but you remember the rule. The rule says that basic salary is fully taxable. So you can note down this, or this particular video I will share with you on YouTube, and you can keep it for your notes purpose. Now, basic salary, how it is structured. For example, if a person is employed on 1st May 2004 in the grade of, in this grade, 12,000, 300 and 15,000. So what does it mean? This means that, very, very important, this means that he starts with a basic salary of 12,000. Basic salary of 12,000. He starts with a basic salary of 12,000 from 1st May. From 1st May he starts. So now, for the whole year of 1st May to for the first year of his employment, that is from 1st May 2004 to 31st March 2005, what is happening? There is no increment, because increment will be after 1 year from joining. So he will get an increment of some amount. That amount is called as this amount. This amount is called as this amount. He will get an increment of rupees 300 with effect from 1st May, because after the completion of the first year, you will get an increment of 300 rupees. So the first year, his salary was 12,000. Second year, the salary will be 12,300. Third year, it will be 12,600. So every year there will be an increment, and the increment will take place till 15,000 rupees. So this is what is written here, and this 300 rupees will continue every year on the same date till his basic salary reaches 15,000 rupees, and from here no further increment is given thereafter till he is promoted and placed in another cadre. So this cadre, if it changes, then he will get a new band. Until such a time, his salary will be only 15,000 rupees. So his starting salary was 12,000. First year he got an increment of 300, second year 300, so on and so forth. And this increment will continue till he achieves or attains 15,000 rupees as basic salary. And from there it will stop continuing till he gets promoted or placed in a new band or a grade. So this is the meaning of basic salary. So first year the basic salary was 12,000. Second year the basic salary was So that was the point we were discussing. There was an internet interruption. So that's the way the basic salary is structured, and basic salary, please remember the rule, it is fully taxable. The rule is it is fully taxable. Next one we will see. Next one is advance salary. Already I told what do you mean by advance salary. For the forthcoming months, if the employer is paying the salary in advance, then it is fully taxable. Again, the rule for advance salary which is received in advance, the rule is it is fully taxable. It is fully taxable. The rule for advance salary is it's fully taxable. So the second component of the salary is advance salary. The rule is fully taxable. Next one is fees and commission. Now we are going to talk about the third component of salary, which is fees, commission, and bonus. So fees and commission. Commission is paid to those people who are in sales. Sales people go in market, they will sell the product, and to motivate them, apart from the basic salary and other allowances and perquisites, in the salary structure they will be having something called as commission. Commission is towards the sales he has done. So please remember, commission is paid to sales people, even to production people. For example, production in times of at times when the situation is where there is a huge demand for the product, they have to produce goods in high quantities. So to motivate the workers, to motivate the production manager, the company will structure commission to production manager for every unit produced. Okay, so this is also a part of your salary. So the rule for this also is the rule for commission is it is fully taxable. The rule for commission paid to the employee by the employer for the nature of the work carried out is fully taxable. Next one is fees. If the employee is giving some extra expertise, is for example, I am good in taxation, whether it is income tax or personal tax or corporate tax or GST, I am expert. Assuming that I am expert, and I am there in JSPM Sahu College as an employee who is going to teach to the students of MBA. Apart from this, so for which I am going to be paid salary. Apart from this, the employer tells that you give me some advisory services on for income tax, TDS, income tax returns, GST, so on and so forth. So this is not my natural work or my regular work. This is something different. They are trying to use my expertise in that area. So for this, I will charge them fees, consultancy fees. So salary is different, commission is different, and now fees is different. So this is I am receiving because of the employer and employee relationship. So this is also fully taxable. Now your question comes, sir, how to remember or what is the rule, why it is fully taxable? You can ask me, sir, why it is fully taxable? Now please remember, there is a profit and loss account of the employer. Employer will show this fees and commission on the debit side of profit and loss account as an expenditure. So what will happen because of this? As is showing fees, commission, and other expenses like salaries, etc., as an expenditure on the debit side of profit and loss account, because debit all expenses and losses, credit all incomes and gains. What will happen to the net profit? The net profit will decrease. Net profit will decrease. And when the net profit decreases, because you have shown as an expenditure, the company's liability to pay tax also reduces by that quantum. So here this is shown as an expenditure, and that is the reason the net profit is decreasing and the tax liability is also decreasing. So the government is getting less revenues in the form of taxation. But this fees, commission, and salaries are income to income to the employee. So it is not taxed here, but it is taxed here. So somewhere it is going to be taxed. As an expenditure, it is shown on the debit side of profit and loss account, which reduces net profit and thereby reduces the taxability or tax quantum. So in order to, and because of this reason, on the other side, if you look carefully, this is an income to an other person who is an assessee in the form of individual who is an employee. So it will be taxed in the hands of the employee. So this is the understanding. Next one. Next one is now, as already seen, we have already seen this slide, but just I am recovering for your purpose. Now allowances are fully exempted, fully taxable, and partly taxable. That already we have seen. We'll go to the next slide. We are going to see the next one. Very important. Now comes the second. So we have seen till so far basic salary. We have seen commission. We have seen fees, and we have seen even the basic salary. What is the band? And there is even bonus also. Bonus is paid on occasion of Diwalis, or whenever there is a bumper profits, the company is going to pay bonus to the employee. So that is also fully taxable. That is another rule. That is another component of salary. Now the next part, we are going to start about the next part, which is called as allowances. Now let's talk about allowances and their taxability. So the first allowance is dearness allowance. So dearness allowance, the nature of the allowance, we will understand what is the nature of the allowance. ये नाम कैसा आया और ये salary का component बना तो किसके लिए बना है, for what reason? So it is written here that as it is clear by its name, this allowance is paid to the employee by the employer to compensate the employee against the rising price levels in the economy. Whenever there is an increase in the price levels in the economy, for example, standard of living is increasing or inflation is increasing, so it's not easy for the employee to sustain on a minuscule or meager salary. To compensate that, the dearness allowance comes into picture. It will be compensated. The rise in the commodity price or inflation will be compensated by adjusting dearness allowance or dearness pay. So dearness allowance means this is an allowance which is paid to compensate the employee because of the rising or rise in the price levels of essential commodities or standard of living. Please remember this. So what is the rule? Now you can ask me, sir, what is the rule for dearness allowance? You have to remember all these rules. The rule for dearness allowance is fully taxable. Fully taxable. This is fully taxable. So basic salary is fully taxable. Fees, commission, bonus, dearness allowance. Another name for dearness allowance is dearness pay. This is also fully taxable. Please remember, this is an important word here. When a part of the dearness allowance is converted into dearness pay, it becomes a part of the basic salary for the grant of retirement benefits and is assumed to be given under the terms of employment. Please remember, dearness allowance and dearness pay becomes a part of your retirement benefits. A part of retirement benefits. Retirement benefits. We are already seen what is a retirement benefit. The retirement benefits are pension, gratuity, and leave encashment. And most importantly, it is gratuity and pension. So when the company is paying gratuity, how is it calculated? It is calculated on basis of salary. Now salary means what? What is salary? Basic salary. What are the components of salary in calculating gratuity? We have to understand it. So we are going to deal separately with the topic gratuity when we are talking about retirement benefits in the forthcoming session. So please remember, for calculation of retirement benefits like gratuity or leave encashment or gratuity in particular, we have to take into consideration salary. Now salary means what? Salary, basic salary है, क्या fees है, क्या commission है, क्या allowances है, क्या perquisites है. So please remember, जब हम लोग retirement benefits calculate करते हैं, तो we have to take so many things into account for calculating the calculating the retirement benefits like gratuity. So that will, and one among them will be dearness allowance, which will be taken into account for calculating or determining the value of a retirement benefits in the form of gratuity or pension. We'll see this. So this is very important. This particular thing is very important. Next one. I will clear this. Now look one by one. So many things have come into picture. Now allowances. We have seen. We are going to see so many allowances. So many allowances we are going to see. The first one is city compensatory allowance. The first one is city compensatory allowance. Yesterday I told, if you are working in Bombay and if you are working in Pune, if you are working in Bangalore, if you are working in Nasik or Sangli or in Ahmednagar, so you can't have the same structure of city compensatory allowance to compensate the cost of living of a particular city where you are doing a job, like Bombay, Delhi, Calcutta, Mumbai, Dehradun, Assam, so on and so forth. Okay, so depending on the kind of city where you are living and the standard of living and the high cost of living, the company will provide, or the employer will structure a component in the salary which is called as city compensatory allowance. And the rule for city compensatory allowance is fully taxable. It is fully taxable because on one side it is shown on the debit side of profit and loss account, so it increases the expenditure of the company, it reduces the profitability, and thereby it reduces the quantum of tax that has to be paid to that extent. So on one side the tax is getting reduced, and the other side it is going to be taxed in the hands of the employee who is getting it. So somewhere it is taxed. Next one is tiffin allowance or lunch allowance. So you know by the very nature of the name itself, you can state that this particular allowance is given to the employee is provided by the employer to the employee to provide for tiffin and lunch to the employee because of the nature of the work. Is coming to the organization early in the morning or in during the office hours, he has to go to home and to have lunch. So to compensate that, the employer tells that you need not go to house. I will give you some 600 rupees or 700 rupees for your tiffin and allowance, tiffin and lunch allowance and dinner allowance. So that is the nature of that allowance. This is meant for the tiffin and lunch or dinner of the employee, and the rule again is the rule here also it is fully taxable. So I will cover some of the important ones which are recurring or occurring frequently. City compensatory allowance, tiffin allowance, non-practice allowance. This is normally given to those professionals. These professionals are medical doctors, chartered accountants, architects who are in government service and are banned from doing private practice. It is to compensate them from this ban, and it is fully taxable. So this is given to whom? Doctors and chartered accountants. Next one is warden or proctor allowance. These allowances this is also fully taxable. Non-practicing allowance. We are asking medical doctors and chartered accountants from doing taking up any private practicing, and to compensate that they will pay non-practicing allowance. Next one is warden allowance. These allowances are given in educational institutions for working as a warden. For example, we have an hostel, and that hostel has got a warden or a person who is taking care of the hostel, the boys, the girls, etc. So for this guy only we are going to pay an allowance which is called as proctor allowance or warden allowance, and the rule is it is fully taxable. Again, I am telling you why it is fully taxable, because once the company is giving the warden allowance, that is shown on the debit side of profit and loss account under salary, and this increases the expenditure of the company, thereby reduces the net profitability of the company and the tax liability to that extent. So in order to compensate, the person who is receiving this allowance will be full taxable, will be taxed, fully taxed on whatever warden allowance or proctor allowance is getting. Next one is deputation allowance. When an employee is sent from his permanent place of service to some other place on deputation for a temporary period, then this kind of allowance is given, and the rule is it is fully taxable. taxable. For example, I'm working in a JSPM Pune branch, and they have got a branch in Sholapur. So I'm not a native of Sholapur. So they are deputing me for certain period of time to work in their campus at Sholapur. So what is happening? My expenditure is increasing because the nature of the work has changed. My place of work has changed, and in order to compensate that, they will give me a salary component, which is and they will include some allowance called as deputation allowance, and this is fully taxable. Okay, next one is overtime allowance. Next one is overtime allowance. Let's look at the overtime allowance. Overtime allowance is when an employee works for an extra hour and above his normal duty. Above his normal duty, then he is given some extra wages, and this wage is not calculated on the basis of piece rate or unit rate or hour rate or minute rate, but it is a part of your salary, and that is called as overtime allowance. And this overtime allowance also fully taxable. Next one is fixed allowance, fixed medical allowance. So you know, a part of a salary, in the part of the salary, a component is paid in the form of medical allowance. So medical allowance, the rule is fully taxable. The nature of the expenditure is incurred for medical treatment of the employer and the employee and the family. For an employee and the family, employee is myself, my family is my spouse, my daughter, my father, my mother, my dependent brother, and my dependent sister. So these are the people who will come under the umbrella of family. Family means myself, my spouse, my daughter, my son, my father, my mother, dependent brother, dependent sister. If there these people will be for these people, an allowance will be given in the form of an allowance called as fully taxable medical allowance, and the nature and the taxability is fully taxable. Next one is servant allowance. The name itself is given that you can have a number of servants at your home. So for them, we are going to pay a allowance to you, which will become a part of your salary, component of your salary. And please remember, servant allowance is fully taxable. This is about some of the allowances. Next one. Next one is very important. Very important. Now we are talking about the first partly taxable or partly exempted, partly taxable or partly exempted allowance, which is house rent allowance. For example, I'm I'm working in Pune, and I've got a job in Bangalore, example, and in Bangalore I don't have a house. So I will tell my boss that why don't you give me HRA, which is a part of my salary, which is a component of salary, and they generally give, and most of the companies give. In our college also, in our company also, they will give, and that is called as HRA, house rent allowance. So as I'm in Bangalore, I don't have a house, and as per the terms and conditions of the company salary package, they are giving me a allowance which is called as house rent allowance. And this house rent allowance is to pay or to compensate for the rent what I am paying to the house owner for being in a different place because of the nature of the job, or the place where I'm not from a place from my original place from where I hail from. So because of this reason, the company will give HRA, house rent allowance. Now, house rent allowance, an allowance granted to a person by his employer to meet the expenditure incurred on payment of rent in respect of residential accommodation occupied by him. So please remember, this is paid for rent in respect of residential accommodation. Okay. For example, in our college, one faculty is staying in a rented house. So for this guy, the company is giving you as a part of salary HRA, house rent allowance. So now, for example, I will give a small example with this, you will understand. So the company is giving me, giving that employee, ex-employee, some 20,000 rupees per month as HRA, 20,000 per month for HRA in Pune. For house rent allowance, how much they are giving? 20,000 per month. So this is actual received by the employee from the employer. Now he spends towards the house rent. Now he will spend less than 20,000 per month, or he will pay 20,000 per month as rent, or it can be more than 20,000 per month. So it can be greater than, equal to, or less than. So how much? Now this is not the full to be taxed, because out of this he is going to pay some amount towards the house rent. So it can't be a fully taxable allowance, because this kind of an allowance, a part of an element of expenditure is incurred. So this kind of allowances are not fully taxable. They are exempted, partly exempted. They are partly exempted from tax. So how much is the exemption? Now the question comes, how much is the exemption you will get from taxation? So for this, we have to have 3 rules. This one rule, this, so there are 4 rules. These 4 rules you have to remember. The first rule is actual rent, actual HRA received by the employee from the employer. How much is the house rent allowance received by the employee from the employer, that is the assessee. Okay, first you have to find out this one. Number 2, very, very important, you have to find out excess of rent paid by the assessee over 10% of salary. Now what does it mean? You have to find out the rent paid by the employee for the house minus 10% of salary. We will do a small problem tomorrow, so at that time you will understand it. So the first one is actual HRA received, the first one. Second one is rent paid minus 10% of salary. Third one is, see, there are the cities, metropolitan cities like Bombay, Kolkata, Delhi and Chennai. For this type of cities, we have to take into consideration 50% of salary. 50% of salary. And in other places, apart from Bombay, Kolkata, Chennai and Delhi, you have to calculate 40% of the salary. For example, I am working in where? In Pune. So will I go to this, or I will go to this? I will go to this. This is not meant for me because I am in Pune. So if I am working in Chennai, then I will go here. I will calculate this. So we will do a small problem. And now very important, here we have written something called as salary. Now what does salary mean? So salary means, salary for the purpose of calculation of HRA is basic salary, DA, and DA if it is forming a part of retirement benefits, and commission based on fixed percentage of turnover achieved by the employee. So this is very, very important. And tomorrow in the next class, we are going to talk about a problem on HRA. So how does this problem look? I will show.